Behind unprecedented scenes, the world's most powerful leaders held secret meetings and signed an agreement. The existence of the Chosen One will be hidden forever. They decided to erase your name from the history books, to hide your light from the people. But a light so great, no matter how hidden, will one day burn through all the curtains. While they were setting tables to make us forget you, your story was already written in the firmament. Now the game has changed. Everything that is a secret will one day become the truth. Write 333 in the comments now, because the truth finds everyone sooner or later. Picture a seed buried beneath heavy earth, forgotten by many, dismissed by some, yet destined to split the soil and reach for the sun when the season of storms arrives. Sometimes you find yourself pressed on all sides, like that tiny seed in the dark, wondering if there's any light left to hope for. But deep down, something sacred stirs, a knowing older than your troubles, a whisper that says, "Hold on, there's more to your story." That's when, just as the thunder grows loudest, the ground breaks open, and you realize that what was meant to bury you is what brought you forth. Life will sometimes arrange the sky against you, sending rains and winds that seem to have your name on them. You didn't ask for the test, but you stood in it, even as people you once called friends quietly erased you from their conversations, erasing you from memories as if you'd never mattered. There were hands moving pieces behind the scenes, working in silence to redraw the boundaries of your belonging. But the same storm that was supposed to wash you away only watered the roots of your destiny. You didn't crumble. When the eyes of the doubters looked for your absence, they found you standing taller than before. The rooms where people whispered your name in hopes it would fade, the tables where decisions were made without your voice, those very places became the stages where your courage grew. Each plot, each unseen maneuver, every subtle betrayal, they became compost, rich with the lessons that now feed your growth. It's easy to miss it in the moment. When darkness closes in and you feel forgotten, you might believe the lie that your story is over. But every storm is just a temporary nightfall. Somewhere inside, you hold a candle that refuses to be snuffed out. You remember promises spoken over your life, dreams that once glowed bright, a call you could never quite silence. That call is your anchor, the truth that you're chosen for more than survival. You're called to breakthrough. You have endured not just for yourself, but as proof for others watching in secret places, needing to see someone make it out alive. You stand for the weary, the wounded, and the waiting, for every soul who thought the rain would never end. Your survival is not an accident. It's the fulfillment of a purpose set in motion before you were born. There is a holy resilience within you that cannot be programmed, cannot be replicated by those who operate from fear instead of faith. As the story unfolds, you start to see the wisdom in every hardship, the hidden blessing behind every shut door. What you thought would destroy you has made you unshakable. Your name, once targeted for erasure, now rings louder in the halls of destiny. People who once doubted your strength quietly shift their opinions as they witness the evidence of a life restored by divine hands. Your journey isn't just about personal victory. It's about showing that light outlasts shadow, that faith outlasts fear. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. You may never know all the ways you were shielded, the plans that fell apart, the lies that didn't stick, the betrayals that turned into breakthroughs, all evidence that unseen forces were working for your good. The world may call it luck, but you recognize the signature of grace, the peace that floods your heart in the middle of chaos, the gentle nudges that steer you clear of danger, the moments of unexpected provision. These are the fingerprints of a loving power that walks beside you. People may have counted you out, but what counts most is that you never counted yourself out. Even when doors closed and faces turned away, you kept moving, fueled by the hope that somehow, somewhere, justice would prevail. And when the moment finally comes, the day the sun breaks through and the blessing arrives, it will be clear that you didn't just survive. You were kept, preserved for such a time as this. Let your story be a lighthouse for anyone drifting in the dark. Let your scars be the map that guides others out of their storms. Stand in your truth, knowing that the same force that carried you through every trial is still working, still moving mountains in your favor. You are the living proof that the seed may go unnoticed. But when the season changes, it becomes the tallest tree in the field. And as you walk forward, head held high, remember, the storms were never meant to destroy you. They came to reveal what could never be broken: your name, your purpose, your light. It was all written in the heavens long before any plot was formed against you. This is your season to rise, not just for yourself, but for every eye that needs to see that the chosen never fall, they grow stronger. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Think of a watchman standing alone at the gate on a moonless night, feeling every slight change in the wind, every shift in the air. Others might have mocked that watchman for jumping at shadows, but when dawn breaks, everyone sees what nearly crept in while they slept. That's the gift hidden inside your story. What felt like restlessness or worry was actually the sacred alarm ringing from your soul's highest tower, keeping you safe when no one else even saw the danger. There are times in life when the world tries to gaslight you out of your own discernment, making you wonder if you're simply too much, too alert, too cautious, too unwilling to let things slide. But here's the truth: the people who set their traps in darkness depend on you doubting your inner compass. They craft their plots like playwrights, casting themselves as heroes and you as the obstacle to be removed, hoping the audience will never see behind the curtains. Your intuition was never the problem. It was the answer. All along, those chills, those uneasy feelings, the restless sense that you needed to watch your back, these weren't burdens, but blessings. Like a shepherd's dog that won't sleep when wolves circle the flock, your spirit simply refused to lie down while threats circled your destiny. Every so-called overreaction was actually your inner guide, an invisible fence keeping predators at bay. And while you spent sleepless nights wrestling with self-doubt, questioning if your standards were too high or your boundaries too firm, the truth was that you were being quietly prepared for a test others could not have survived. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, chose to sharpen your senses, not to torment you, but to help you cut through illusion and recognize real threats camouflaged as friends or family. You were not paranoid. You were divinely equipped. Looking back, You can see the signs you were never meant to ignore. The feeling that certain rooms were colder than others, the sense that a conversation had an edge you couldn't name, the physical unease that followed certain faces. These were not just nerves. They were early warnings, like storm sirens sounding before the rain, calling you to prepare, to hold fast, to trust yourself when others tried to talk you out of your own reality. You learned, often painfully, that discernment is lonely work, but it is also holy work. When people staged their productions and tried to cast you as the villain or the fool, what they failed to understand is that you were holding the pen all along, writing a story of survival, grace, and triumphant return. They rehearsed your defeat, but the curtain rose on a different act, the one where you walked away unscathed and wiser than before. Now, when you look back, there's gratitude for every shiver, every doubt that kept you from falling deeper into their schemes. You see that your boundaries weren't walls, but watchtowers, your strong reactions, not explosions, but signal flares. The very traits you questioned are what rescued you. You didn't just escape a trap, you became the kind of person who cannot be trapped. That's what makes you a beacon for others who still wander through foggy fields of confusion, who haven't yet learned to trust the sound of their own alarm bells. Your story says you're not crazy for listening to your instincts. You're courageous. You're not overreacting. You're being divinely guided. You're not hard to love. You're just hard to fool. Let every tremor that once filled you with shame now fill you with pride. You walked through a field of hidden snares and never let go of your truth. The world will try to convince you to trade away your gifts for acceptance, but you now know that those very gifts are what kept you alive and free. The wisdom you carry was paid for in battles nobody else saw, and now it shines like armor you never have to remove. You may still feel echoes of those old doubts, but they're quieter now. The watchman at the gate stands taller in the sunrise, knowing that while others slept, it was your vigilance that held the night at bay. Your discernment is your divine inheritance. Hold it close and walk forward knowing you're not just surviving. You're walking in the authority of someone who was chosen to see, to feel, to know, and to lead the way home. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. People who used to blend quietly into the backdrop of your history reappeared, not by accident, but by agenda. They knocked on doors with the charm of old memories, making you feel like the past was trying to heal itself. But these gestures weren't born from nostalgia. They were signals sent by a network working overtime to make sure your story was rewritten without your consent. Their sudden interest was the cover, but the real story was being plotted by minds who had long since decided to rewrite your destiny for their own benefit. It's easy to dismiss the subtle unease that creeps in during a conversation or the feeling of discomfort when someone you once loved tries to draw you in again. This isn't social awkwardness, nor is it an overactive imagination. It is intuition, life's way of tugging your sleeve and pulling you out of the path of danger. The plan was always bigger than it seemed, It was meant to be public, recorded, and irreversible. But every move they made was met by an invisible wall, your knowing. Beneath the surface of polite invitations and casual messages, the real architects were busy crafting blueprints of exclusion. Their strategy was not just to isolate, but to surround you with false witnesses, ensuring that when the decisive moment came, their version of events would drown out your own. The group mentality here wasn't just about strength in numbers, it was about weaving a net so tightly that no voice, especially yours, could escape it. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. For those intent on tearing you down, victory looked like pushing you off a pedestal they themselves were too afraid to climb. In their world, the only way to rise is by standing on someone else's shoulders. But change in you was a threat. Growth, true, radiant, unapologetic, was a beacon they needed to dim. Their fear wasn't of your flaws, but of your potential to outgrow the cage they tried to build for you. This was no simple ambush at a familiar place. Their tactics were rooted in dislocation, getting you away from anything stable, anything that could anchor you to truth. They maneuvered you into unfamiliar spaces where you'd lose your sense of control, hoping the confusion would work in their favor. The real danger wasn't in the environment, but in their intention to set the stage for your vulnerability and then press record. They waited for moments of weakness, engineered them with a precision that is chilling. Whether it was a forced toast, a strategic confrontation, or just the slow erosion of your confidence, every move was calculated to capture the exact frame they needed, the image of you at your lowest, stripped of context, ready to be edited into someone else's story. Yet, woven into this sinister plot, the universe planted allies you'd never expect. Outcasts, survivors, and seers, people who, like you, were written out of the script but chose to write themselves back in. Together, their presence forms a network of resilience, quietly waiting in the wings, always ready to step forward when someone tries to erase another soul's light. The meticulous operation to dismantle you was never about a single event. It was a series of orchestrated actions, eroding your boundaries, challenging your memories, collecting every tear and outburst like trophies. Their purpose was to paint you in colors of chaos, ensuring your reputation was stained beyond repair. But their masterpiece was destined to unravel because you learned to recognize the brushstrokes of manipulation. Some people spend months, even years, gathering data about your habits, watching your every move, and preparing for the perfect moment to strike. These orchestrators kept tabs on your routines, eavesdropped on your dreams, and mapped your weak points. But while they were fixated on your surface, they failed to see the depth of your roots. The soil beneath your life was tilled with experience, intuition, and a resilience they couldn't predict. Picture a sunflower, steady and golden, always turning its face to the light, even when shadows fall across the field. Just like that flower, there was something inside you that kept reaching for what was true, even when you didn't understand all the reasons for your unease. Those strange conversations that left you feeling exposed, those invitations that seemed to come with a hidden price tag, all those moments that felt more like a performance than genuine care. None of it was random. These were spiritual alarm bells ringing at the edge of your soul, nudging you to stand guard. The real protection wasn't in the world catching the danger. It was in you listening to the quiet tug on your heart and honoring it. Every ounce of hesitation became a fortress. Every moment you questioned their intentions, you were building a wall of wisdom, brick by brick. That's no small thing, chosen one. So many people get swept up by the crowd, chasing approval, ignoring the warnings deep within. But you decided your peace was worth more than anyone's applause. When you took a step back, it was as if a whole invisible army of angels took a step forward. Those subtle doubts, the uncomfortable pauses, the gut feelings you couldn't explain, those were the sacred gifts, the spiritual stop signs heaven planted for your protection. Trusting yourself in those moments was the real miracle. While others may have called you overly cautious or even difficult, you were simply refusing to trade your inner clarity for someone else's convenience. In a world that's always trying to rush you, to get you to say yes before you know what you're really agreeing to, pausing to listen is a radical act of faith. Every no you uttered became a yes to your destiny. Every red flag you honored marked you as someone heaven could trust with greater things. And as you learn to keep turning toward that inner light, just like the sunflower follows the sun, you'll find you're always in the right place, shielded by a wisdom that can't be counterfeited and guided by a spirit that can't be deceived. That's the blessing, chosen one, the courage to trust your discernment, to honor what you sense, even before you can prove it. The harvest you're about to walk into didn't grow by accident. It's the reward for every time you chose yourself when it felt like no one else would. Keep reaching for the light and watch what blooms on the other side. Imagine a simple oil lamp burning in a window on a stormy night. No matter how wild the wind blows outside, that small flame keeps glowing, lighting the darkness for anyone searching for shelter. That's what your spirit was like through it all. This battle wasn't just a quarrel with people. It was a deeper, sacred contest, a push and pull between the forces of fear and the possibility of transformation. The pressure, the strange heaviness in the air, the way people's attitudes shifted around you, none of it was just about personalities. It was about something holy moving through your life, something ancient and bright, refusing to be snuffed out by borrowed shadows. The truth is, you were never just another person passing through their story. The reason their attacks felt so pointed, so relentless, is because you carried a purpose that unsettled every comfort they built on secrets. They tried to smother your hope, to silence your voice, to box you into the corner of their own insecurity. But just like that lamp in the window, your light only seemed to shine more boldly the more they tried to shut it down. They called on confusion and chaos, hoping to wear you down. But every attempt to cloud your vision only invited more clarity from within. The harder they pushed, the more the spirit inside you rose up. You discovered the real nature of your battle, not a tug of war for approval, but a sacred confirmation that you were chosen for a reason. The real victory wasn't just making it through, but awakening to your role as a vessel for change, a messenger carrying the evidence that darkness doesn't have the final say. When you finally look back, you'll see that every storm only filled your lamp with more oil. Every night they tried to put you out, heaven added another measure of fuel to your fire. And now, the very force they tried to invoke against you is the proof of your calling. Because only someone marked for greater things draws this much resistance. The blessing wasn't just survival, it was the strengthening of your bond with the source of all light. You became a beacon, chosen one, not just protected, but appointed to shine through storms, so others could find their way home too. You are not the product of their projections or the victim of their envy. You are living proof that the brightest fires are forged in the hottest furnaces. While they tried to pull you under, you rose, not because you are immune to pain, but because your essence cannot be submerged. Their efforts to diminish you only made your victories louder. Every time you stepped into their game, the rules changed in your favor. Where they wanted chaos, there was unexpected calm. Where they prepared traps, you found exits. Their entire structure, built on the shifting sands of control, was no match for the bedrock of conviction that lived inside you. What they couldn't anticipate was the universe's favor tipping the scales in your direction at the very last second. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Soon, everything they directed at you, every humiliation plotted, every rumor whispered, every evidence manufactured, will become the seeds of their own unraveling. The spotlight they aim to shine on your faults will swing back to reveal their motives, and the web they spun for your capture will become their own undoing. The return of energy is as certain as the dawn. Every intention, good or ill, comes home eventually. If you ever wondered why now? The answer lies in the unique signature of your soul. You carry something rare, a frequency, a vision, a spark that unsettles the complacent and terrifies the controlling. The very forces that sought to end your story had already written your name into a lineage of overcomers. Your journey was destined for significance long before they ever knew your name. Sometimes survival means standing in the line of fire to shield others who don't yet have your strength. It means taking hits that would shatter another just so the darkness is forced to reveal itself. This wasn't only about your victory, but about ending a cycle for everyone else who might have been drawn into the same snare. You represent a new kind of change, one that doesn't ask for permission. Your transformation disrupted an old system, one that depended on keeping everyone in the same roles, playing the same tired game. They needed your downfall to validate their stagnation. Instead, you revealed how far one can rise, simply by refusing to conform. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. There's a pattern to how these orchestrators choose their targets. It's never random. They look for those whose progress unsettles the status quo, whose presence makes others question why they settled. Your resilience was a threat, your healing a mirror they couldn't bear to look into. In trying to bury your story, they revealed their own. Their schemes rely on hierarchy, a hidden architecture of control. The directors in the shadows, the strategists in plain sight, the operatives who deliver the blow, and the spectators who cheer from the sidelines all have their role. Each draws something different from your pain, but none can claim true power once the illusion is shattered. The beauty is, your defense didn't come from matching their tactics. You drew from a well they could neither poison nor deplete. While they played games of position and intrigue, you tapped into a wisdom that rewrote the rules altogether. Their castles of sand could not withstand the flood of clarity that comes when spirit takes command. By holding your ground, you did more than save yourself. You sent a ripple through your world, a reminder that the strong can't be extinguished, that discernment is the shield no adversary can penetrate. The very hands that tried to turn out your light only made it brighter, and the tale of your survival is now a lighthouse for others searching for hope.